Inspired by a cenotaph featuring the names of 20 soldiers who fought in World War I, residents of Port Dalhousie got together and decided to create banners to honor the soldiers. Paul Molnar joins us now. Paul, that's one of the banners that we see behind you. Last year was the first year they flew in Port Dalhousie.
This is the second year. That's actually one of the original banners. We did a reprint this year just to make them pop a little bit more. The artwork's the same. We've enhanced some of the colors and some of the wording on them. There's 20 that were originated last year of the 20 on the cenotaph in Port Dalhousie, and we've got two new ones, which are portraits of the individuals, both World War II, and one of them is a Korean War vet. And those are going up as we speak in Port Dalhousie, up in time for Remembrance Day, and they're going to fly in our streets for at least the next month.
These are two new people, their names are not on the cenotaph, as you mentioned. These are people that a lot of visitors to Port Dalhousie, residents of Port Dalhousie, may know.
Oh, they're actually really well known in Port. One of them is John Orr. He ran and owned the Lions Tavern for many years, so a lot of people grew up in the area, know him quite well. His wife just found out that it's going up. So she's quite happy and tearful, to be honest, to hear about that. The other's Carl Cardis. He's a surviving World War II and Korean War vet. He's 96 years old. He comes into port every Saturday with his gang and hangs out at Scorecard Harry's. He's going to be very proud to see that above his bus stop in Port Dalhousie.
That brings to mind the fact that I think this banner project can be expanded over the years as we discover more about individuals from Port Dalhousie who did fight, and yourself having seen combat in the Gulf War as well. These banners could be expanded. We could see more added to the collection in the future.
That's for sure. And we do have a fund already put together so we can subsidize others, families that come forward if they want to memorialize, or if they want to support and show respect for somebody in the community that's not a family member, and the person can be, as in Carl's case, can still be very much alive and well.
Paul, this is really a grassroots project. The little village of Port Dalhousie, which used to be a town unto itself, doing this on their own without help from the city of St. Catharines, really.
Well, the city has actually been helpful in the putting them up and down and coordinating. But yeah, it was a grassroots, locals putting forth money and funds. And some people I've never met before and who didn't even have somebody related to the military have put in significant amount of funding to be able to make this a reality.
You did a reprint this year. The original banners are going to go to someone special. Can you explain that?
Yeah, they're going to go to the students. I actually saw one of the moms this weekend while I was meeting Carl, and they're still easy to get a hold of because they're in grade 8 now. So they're going to be getting the original banners, which just didn't quite meet what we needed to standard-wise. So we did a reprint on them, and the benefit is that they're going to get their artwork on a banner to be put in their house with agreement from their parents as to where it goes, I guess, and it'll fly in their house forever.
What a fantastic idea. Paul, thanks for joining us. Just so you know, we're going to turn now to Pat Brand, who's going to tell us a little bit about the process of getting these banners done.
Excellent, thanks, and great assistance from Pat and all his team.
Pat Brand joins us now. Pat, a long road to get this done. Can you tell us how you got there?
It kind of happened organically, but I thought there was kind of 5 key areas that are critical to this whole project taking place, and take away one of them and it wouldn't have happened. I guess the first one is the cenotaph, which is kind of obvious, but for a small town of Port Dalhousie of 1,500 people, it's quite an impressive piece of memorial for the soldiers that fought in previous wars, basically. It was done by donations from the people of Port Dalhousie and the Niagara area, basically. They had a ceremony in November 23rd, 1924, and so it's been in the towns for almost 100 years now. And the interesting and unique thing about the Port Dalhousie cenotaph is it's got the names of people on it, as opposed to just a memorial to honor all the soldiers who have fought and died, basically. And then a good friend of mine who I grew up with, Herb Davies, became interested and intrigued with at least the 20 names of the individuals who fought and died from Port Dalhousie. And he thought, like, who were these people? What did they do? Where did they come from? The other thing was, he thought, if I was born 100 years ago, I would probably be one of those people that went off and fought as well. So he tried to personalize it. He then did some research online. There's various sites, war sites, that remembrance sites, and he got information, but he went beyond that. He actually went to Europe, found the gravestones of some of the men that fought and died. So he took all that information and he had it written down, basically. Not necessarily tech savvy. So he kept me updated in terms of what was happening. But like I say, of all the people who have passed that cenotaph, Herb was the only one that I'm aware of that kind of dug a little deeper and, sort of took the names and tried to figure out who they were.
And Pat, Herb's work led eventually to the creation of a website.
At one point in time when I was talking to him, I said, Herb, what are you going to do with these things? Like, they're just on pieces of paper in your desk. And he says, I have absolutely no idea what to do with them. And I thought, well, it's too rich of a history to just be sitting on Herb's desk. So I said, I've created a couple of websites because there's easy ways to make them and online kind of things that'll walk you through them. So long story short, I took all those pieces of information, and with Herb's help as well, in terms of how we wanted to organize it, we created the site Citizen Soldiers of Port Dalhousie.
And a local teacher then began using that website as material for her class.
It was surprising and really, heartening to hear that people locally were actually looking at this stuff and then thinking how they could use it. So Beth Houlihan, a teacher at St. Anne's School in Port Dalhousie, which is really cool. It was a Port Dalhousie school and Port Dalhousie teacher and Port Dalhousie students that took this thing, and I think it was about 4 years ago, she used it as a teaching tool just to provide students with information about World War I and remembering soldiers, basically.
Pat, how did it come to the idea of, hey, let's create banners?
Well, in 2020, as opposed to just sort of reading stuff and writing stories, Beth had the students draw pictures. So she got the students to pick a name and draw something representing that individual. And if you see them, they're beautiful, but they're stark. They're gray, black, and white with some red kind of poppy stuff on them. Another person from Port Dalhousie, a Port girl who doesn't live there anymore, Doreen Ingalls, who now lives in Kingston, she just mentioned to me one day, those would be great. They look like they'd be great banners. And I thought, wow, that is really kind of something that we can run with here.
Then, in order to raise funds, a GoFundMe page was created.
The community got behind this. We were able to raise $10,000, and that money not only covers the cost of the banners, but it also covers the cost of maintenance. It costs to have them put up and taken down. The shelf life is about 10 years, so at some point in time, they'll have to be replaced. So like I say, this wasn't a master plan on anybody's part. It just kind of, from one thing led to another, and we're now where we're at in terms of having banners put up in Port Dalhousie every year to honor these 20 men.
Pat, thank you for all the work you and your team did on this project. It's very impressive.